Awesome, man. Very excited to see everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're gonna have some fun today because we're gonna talk about a few things. You know, I was coming across some content that somebody had written, and I started to kind of think about how I would approach that similar concept and some of the things that I would want to talk about in those concepts. And I came up with what I thought to be the 9 most important things we got to think about when we're running a business or just in life in general, because running a business is very much like creating relationships, right? Like we talk about this all the time where we are relationship developers, relationship buildings. Like we're in the people business, right? Like we are here to work with people, and people buy houses, and that's who we want to continue to build with and work with. And so today I want to talk about these 9 things. But before we get started, if you guys know how we work, the very first thing we got to do is open up a chat box, right? First thing we do is open up the chat box for the Zoom here. And the first thing that we do is we go in there, we type, "It's a freedom day." Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Vaughn. It's a freedom day. Why do we do this? You guys know already, man. If you've been with me for a while, you already know. We do this every Thursday at 11 a.m. We're super stoked to be here. This is free. This is fun. This is what we do. But we type in there, "It's a freedom day." First of all, my name's David Adam Kurz. If you don't know me, I am the founder and president of the Freedom Organization, a coaching and consulting company. And what we've been able to kind of deduce and where the name comes from is that everyone is here to better their business. Everyone is here to better their lives, right? Because better life, better business, better life. It's a full circle. And we understand that most of you are working towards a freedom, whatever that freedom may mean to you. It could be a beach in an island in the Caribbean. It could be a mountaintop home in the Midwest. It could be a desert. It could be a farm, whatever your freedom is, man. You live in another country, all the fun stuff that you can do and build and develop. And so we come in here and we type in the chat box, "It's a freedom day," as a reminder why we even showed up to this class to begin with, right? Like today's a freedom day. So my goal is to give you 100% of me for the next 45 minutes. And then what I hope is that motivation, you pick up one thing from me today, and that motivation runs in through the rest of the day. And maybe today's a freedom day, but tomorrow you wake up and you sit up in your bed and you go, "Shit, you know what? Today's a freedom day too. I'm going to go in," right? And so that's what I would love to inspire you guys to do. So again, super excited to have you guys here. We're going to talk about 9 pillars or 9 things that are very important in life and business and in relationships and relationships development. And what I'd like to do today, the reason why I said we're going to have some fun today, is what I'd like to do today is I want you guys to utilize that little hands up button, right? Like, you know, on the Zoom, when you want to talk to us and you put your hand up and I get to call on you and you get to unmute and we get to communicate. I would like to use that today because I would like to go back and forth with a couple of you guys. Now, typically we don't do this often. We usually get you to chat in the chat box. We get you to talk in the chat box. But today I just kind of want to really dig in with you guys a little bit, right? And so typically we get, at some point, we've got, 19 people on the Zoom today. Sometimes by the middle of the Zoom, we've got 50 people. So we're definitely going to have to use the hands up instead of just unmuting yourself, right? So that way I can call on you. If your name says iPhone or something like that, that's what I'm going to call you. So fix your name. And let's get hot. So first thing I want to talk about is communication, right? So these are the 3 things that I just kind of like thought about when we were thinking about communication, because communication is key in anything, right? Like the first thing, if you got problems in your marriage, chances are it's about communication, right? If you got problems in your business with clients, chances are it's about communication. If a client is upset with you, chances are it's about communication. And there are really good chances of this, right? Like how many of you have gone to a listing appointment for an expired listing and that seller says, when you ask what happened with the previous agent, they go, "Oh, they didn't do anything," right? And if you've been to a listing appointment for an expired listing, you've heard this before. Here's the crazy part. There's a good chance that agent worked their butt off for 6 months and it was really something else. but the seller will never know, because you know where they missed out? They missed out on communicating that with the seller. They were afraid to say the price was too high. They were afraid to say the grass needs to be greener on the front lawn, right? They were afraid to say, maybe we need to fix and repair a couple things, retake photos and do things of that nature. Or they just didn't communicate what they were doing for marketing. Here they went, they spent money on Facebook ads, they spent money on Google ads, they called 7,000 agents and told them about their brokers open, and didn't tell their client any of this, right? And so when at the end of the day, the listing's about to expire, now the agent's like, well, you know, do you want to relist with me for another 6 months or something like that? And the seller goes, no, you haven't done anything. Right. And so then they move on to the next agent and you lose that deal. If you communicate the entire time, then you're in good hands. Right. So I'll give you a tip. First, I'll tell you the tip, and then I'm going to give you the 3 things that I wrote down. So the first tip I'll give you is, in our business, and I teach this to the clients that I coach one-on-one, I think it's so important to have group messaging going on. Right. And so when I do group messaging, I do it through WhatsApp, right? To avoid the issues of, you know, who has a Samsung, who has an iPhone, who has a Microsoft phone. Like, you know, we don't want to do group messaging through regular text, because sometimes that gets messed up a little bit, but we do it through WhatsApp. And I'll give you an example. Right now, I have a WhatsApp that is called 10962 Southwest 235th Street. And that's the name of the WhatsApp group, right? Sue family, right? And so I have both sellers in there. I have myself in there. I have the agent that's going to be helping me with the listing in there. And this is a referral. So I actually have the referral agent in there too. So they know what's happening the entire time, right? Because how many times have you given a referral out and that agent has no clue if you did a good job or not? Right. But if you create communication, something, they don't even have to get involved. They just sit back and watch the conversation happen. They're going to know when inspection happens. They're going to know when the closing's coming up. They're going to hear the news about the appraisal. They're going to have all that stuff. And then it's exciting for the referring agent, because they're like, whoa, I'm about to get 25% in a few days. And all I had to do was read these messages. Right. And so it's an opportunity to create open communication. And that is something that we do, and we do it well. And I believe all communication goes through it. And I explain this when I'm sitting in a buyer consultation. Like this one happens to be a listing, but I sit there at that listing appointment, I say that, or at the buyer's consult, I say that. If it's a buyer, lender's in there too. Hey, lender, what do we got to do to get this house done? Here's the address. Here's, because in WhatsApp, you can load PDFs, you can put pictures in there, you can put links, you can do everything. So I can send them a link to the property. I can send them a PDF with the MLS printout. Hey, lender, check this property out. Are we good to go on this one? Right? Here are the taxes. Here's the information. Lender comes back in. Hey, guys, you're good to go. They upload a new pre-approval right to the WhatsApp. Boom, we're in. Right? And from my phone, I can open that WhatsApp PDF. I can forward it by text. I can forward it by email. I can forward it by, like, I can get it to where it needs to go. I can upload it to my Dropbox, to my Google Drive, wherever it needs to go, I can do it. And so that communication is the tip that I'll give you, because trust me when I tell you, when you do this, that opportunity for open transparency really comes together, right? I'm not saying stay away from emails. Emails are important too, because that's documented. But the WhatsApp is where you just have all the conversation. Here's the other good thing about WhatsApp. You remain the only admin on that WhatsApp, right? So you get to later on, if necessary, print out an entire dialogue or save that entire dialogue of that entire WhatsApp conversation and put it in a file. Should something go wrong and you need to stand in front of the board for any reason, not only are you going to have your email evidence, but you would have that WhatsApp evidence as well. Okay. Now, the 3 things that I wrote was, number 1, listen without interrupting. That's like, oh my God, that's like one of the key things that was so hard for me to learn coming up in this business. I'm just gonna be honest with you, right? If you're gonna get anything with me, it's very direct and honest, okay? And coming up in this business, I love to talk. It's obvious, right? I love to talk. So I would just talk until like everyone got tired of hearing my voice. And I had to take an opportunity to learn how to shut up and let people talk, and realize that the more they talked, the more information I had, right? The more they spoke, the more I knew about what they were doing. The more they talked to me, the more at liberty I had to market, discuss, talk to them. I say this in a funny way, use it against them later on when they don't want to lower the price, right? Like, go, hey, remember that time we were talking, you said you wanted to be closer to your grandkids? Man, this gets you closer to your grandkids. Right. And so this is where we like start pulling on heartstrings, right? But listen without interrupting is a really big one. Speak with a positive tone. I am a huge believer in this. So this goes a couple different ways. One, when you're sitting in front of somebody, right? There's body language. So have positive tone body language, but realize that psychologically you need to be matching your client's tone as well, right? Speak with excitement. Speak with opportunistic sound, right? When I make phone calls, I stand up. When I'm doing this class with you guys, I stand up. Why? Because my voice is going to project better standing up. Sometimes I walk circles in the house or outside, and then I realize I need to chill out because I'm running out of breath while I'm trying to talk and walk, right? So, and we've all been there, but standing up gives you a tremendous amount of opportunity to really express yourself. And then pay attention to your body language, which we alluded to that a second ago. My body language with you guys is excitement. It's up, hands are moving, things are happening. I can't help the hand movement. I'm Hispanic, it just happens, right? All right, so, but what this means is that like you guys would not be interested in this class if one, I was sitting down, two, I was leaning back, and three, I was like, man, guys, really communication is really important. Yeah, so about communication, like this would be the most boring class in the world. It would be the most boring training in the world, right? We've all been there. I've gone to seminars where I've sat in my chair and literally went like, and I had to get up and like go get coffee or something. The information was solid, the delivery was not. And so what I'll tell you is when you're on the phone with somebody, they can feel your energy. Like energy is energy, right? They can feel your energy and it comes through the phone. So when you're sitting down, lean back in that tone, that is the energy that they feel like you have. And that's what you're going to provide to them moving forward. When you stand up and you speak with opportunistic excitement, then everything changes. Now they want to speak to you. Now they like, man, this person's really excited about helping me out, helping me find this house or helping me sell this house. So pay attention to your body language, pay attention to the way that you speak. If your client is sitting across from you at the table and they are leaning forward with their hands on the table discussing with you, you lean forward, hands on the table, discuss it with them. Because if you lean back, the person that leans forward is going to look at you and go, you're lazy, right? Now, if they lean back a little bit in their chair, they're a little more relaxed. You lean back a little bit in your chair and you get a little relaxed. Because if they're lean back and you're lean forward, they're going to think this person's so aggressive. Right? All right. Persuasion is number two. The things that came up with persuasion was identify what other people can care about. That's number one. Number two, create stories that resonate with them. And number three, communicate those stories with brevity and emotion. So we've talked about this a little bit already. If you think about when I said use it against them, right? Persuasion is an opportunity for us to help somebody out using persuasive mannerisms. Identifying what other people care about is extremely important. That's why you guys have probably been to seminars or classes or trainings where you listen to scripts and this question comes up often. That's wonderful. And why is that important to you? We've all heard that before, right? That's wonderful. And why is that important to you? Right? And so, sorry guys, my video just crashed out. My camera has been giving me problems. So if I can't get the camera back on, don't worry about it. I am going to keep talking and you may not be able to see me, but I'm going to keep talking. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get the camera up and running again. And hopefully it will be up and running. If not, I'm just gonna bring it up on my iPad and then you guys can watch me there. Fair enough. Let's see what we got here. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get this baby working. All right, come on, baby, come on. All right, doesn't look like it's going to work. So I'm going to join using my iPad. Bear with me so that way you can at least see me.
Recording in progress.
Are you on mute? Just so you know.
You got me? All right,
There you are.
let me just get into my settings real quick, turn the audio off. Sorry about the delay, guys. All right, so you're going to watch me in a couple different places. I am going to pin this guy up here. Oh, there I am. All right, it's a weird angle, but you got this. All right, let me bring my notes back up and we are solid to go. Okay, so persuasion, we've talked about this a little bit. We really got kind of knee deep into understanding that you're going to identify what people care about. You're going to do this by simply asking questions, right? Like, why is that important to you? And why are you selling your house? And what kinds of things are incredibly important to you for the purchase of a home? And why are those things important to you? Like when somebody says, oh, I want a big chef's kitchen. Well, why is that important to you? I need a large backyard. Like I have a client right now, they need 5 acres. And I said, why is that important to you? So, well, I'm a general contractor and I want to build a huge kind of shed style warehouse where we can have it air conditioned, we can cut wood in there, we can work in there, we can metal work in there, we can do our projects in there and then put them on the truck and take it to people's houses or businesses, right? And I said, well, how big is this thing? Is it like an acre big? And he goes, no, he starts laughing. He shows me a diagram of it. I said, well, let me ask you this. Would you be mad at 3 acres? Like, it seems like if I can get you enough space to put this up, you'd be okay. He goes, yeah, but I want it kind of far from the house. And I go, well, it's all about land distribution, right? If it's a big square, if it's a rectangle, if it goes side to side or front to back, right? It's a big difference because if 3 acres goes side to side, then you got a house and you got a small backyard, a small front yard, but you got super large, you got side yards. If it goes front to back, then you might have a really big front yard and then an equally as big backyard. Or maybe the house is pushed forward. You got a smaller backyard, a really big backyard, right? And so we talk about those things, and being able to have those conversations gives us the opportunity to understand and really discuss why those things are important. And then we get to create stories that resonate with them, right? So when we're at the house and we're looking at 3 acres, I get to create the story. Man, think about this, man, having that little warehouse right over there, right? From here, you could create like a little walkway. You got a side entrance here, so your guys can come in with the trucks and pull all the way up, right? I could create the story. I could paint the picture. Let's go walk back there. How big is this thing again? And we do the realtor measurements, right? Where we get our feet and we put one right in front of the other, 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, right? And then we go, man, look, from here to here, that's the size of this thing. And the guy's like, yeah, man, I'm in. I see it. I can imagine this, right? And then communicate those stories with brevity and emotion. We talked about that quite a bit already. Okay, number 3 for me was negotiation. So I'm going to list the things that I really thought about with negotiation. Man, negotiating is so important in all aspects of life, right? Like everything is a negotiation, right? And so we could talk about it like this. First thing I wrote was listen carefully. Second thing I wrote was understand what the other side wants. Third thing I wrote was know your worth. And fourth thing I wrote was then purpose the solutions that benefit both sides. Think about this for a minute. The entire object or the entire mission of a negotiation is to make the other side feel that they are important and that what you are coming up with, the plan, the attack plan that you're coming up with, makes sense for them and you. The purpose, the solution that benefits both sides. Now, we started with listen carefully, which is extremely important in negotiation, but we already spoke about that, so we keep it going, right? Understand what the other side wants. We've spoken about that. Why is that important to you, right? Know your worth. Here we go. Are you worth 6%? Are you worth 3%? Are you worth 2%? Right? How much money did you make in the last 12 months? Have you ever divided that by the amount of hours you've actually worked? Have you figured out what your hourly rate is? Know your worth. Have you taken these classes like this and understood things better in this business? Have you paid, like this shirt right here? I got this shirt because I attended a course that cost me 10 grand, 16-week course on marketing and design, right? I know my worth when it comes to marketing and design. I know my worth when it comes to creating funnels and building out advertisements and copyright and all that stuff. I know my worth. I put in the work. I educated myself. And then I tested what I educated, and then I realized how much I love it. And now when people ask me about that, I know my worth. So when you're sitting at a listing appointment, you have to really internally know your worth in order to be able to propose solutions that benefit both sides. Well, let me explain to you why we charge 6% for a listing. And by the way, I normally charge 7%. But with you, I want to do it at 6% because I feel like we can move this house quickly at the right price. That's a fun one, right? Or I have a friend of mine that said, Dave, I go to a listing appointment, I give them 3 options. I have a 6% option, a 7% option, and an 8% option. And then I have different things that I do at different percentages. And I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. And he said, you know what the crazy part is? It's human nature to pick the average. Think about that for a minute. He didn't go 5, 6, and 7 hoping to get 6. He went 6, 7, and 8, hoping that most people would be attracted to the 6 because it was the lowest number. However, most people went for the average. Well, I don't want to get the cheap plan, but I also don't want to get the super expensive plan. So I'm going to get the moderate plan. It's a happy middle. So this guy gets 7% for his listings all day long. He has a great presentation with it. He understands his value. He understands how to propose the solution for both sides. Okay, number 4, relationship building. Now, if you guys have been to anything that I've ever done before, you understand that I harp on relationship building. It is by far the most important thing you could be doing in your business right now in today's market, which, by the way, if you understood this when the market was booming, 2020, 2021, most of 2022, when the market was booming, it was hot, there were lines outside, people were paying 40 grand over appraised value. Everybody was going super crazy with this, right? If you understood that then and built relationships then, your business now has no fault. I mean, you're moving. You're like a freaking locomotive that can't be stopped. But if you didn't understand that then, and you just kind of went deal after deal after deal after deal and didn't spend time on the person, you spent time on the transaction. Then when the transaction ended, you moved on to the next transaction. Notice I didn't say person, next transaction, right? But if you spend time on the person and you develop the relationship with the person and you still keep in touch with the person, then that person will appreciate you as a conduit to someone who understands real estate and people. And when you can lock that in, when you can really make that abundant in your business, you will receive referrals like no tomorrow. Spoke to an agent yesterday who's considering coaching with me. He said he closed 100 homes last year. He said 74 of them were referrals. Think about that. This guy understands making relationships happen. He understands it, right? So the things that I wrote down with relationship building was help others unconditionally. I believe in that. I believe as real estate professionals, we're the conduit to everything on that house. If that person needs a plumber, I don't want them to think about Google. I want them to think about me. If that person needs to paint the outside of the house, to redo the backyard, to resurface the pool, to cut the grass, to get a roofer, I want them to think about me. I want them to call me and say, hey, Dave, who do you know? I want to be the conduit for every single thing in that house. I want to be that guy. So help others unconditionally. Look for common interests. That's something that really works. I'm going to tell you, this is so much, this story I like never forgot. This was like 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. My wife and I walk into a listing appointment and my wife takes the lead because at the time I was the broker owner of my brokerage and I had moved out of sales and I went into operations. She took over the team and she was operating the team. And she had to go to this listing appointment and I just wanted to go because I had been to the listing appointment, right? In a little bit. So I wanted to go, back her up. So I was back up. So I had my mouth pretty much shut, right? The listing appointment was not going well, okay? Not because Jen doesn't know how to do a listing appointment, but because she wasn't able to connect with the sellers. The sellers were really standoffish. They were really kind of tight. They didn't want to say a lot. It was like, why is that important to you? And they would go, because it is. And you're like, oh shit, where do I go from here? You know? And so what happens? She says, well, can we get a tour of the house and at least take a look at the house and be able to communicate about that? Guy says, sure, no problem. He opens up his study, opens up the study. He's got 2 doors, sliding doors, opens it up. And the first thing I see is 3 freaking walls full of Yankee memorabilia. I was born and raised in the Bronx, folks. Three stops on the 4 train from Yankee Stadium. Okay. I walked into that room and I was like, I can't stay quiet anymore. And we just went in for 30 minutes on the New York Yankees and the first game I ever went to in my life, and boom, connection. We figured out a way to find a common interest. That simple connection. It could be a picture of some kids on the mantle. And you got kids and you talk about your kids, you ask them about their kids, right? You know, it could be as simple as that. But for that connection, we got that listing. We got that listing. And it was simply because we found an opportunity to connect with each other. The rest of their house was pretty plain. There wasn't really anything to it, right? So it was hard to like look around the house and go, oh my God, I have that couch too, right? Like it was hard. It was a hard listing appointment. But man, when that guy slid those freaking those doors open, and I looked in there and I saw Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Don Mattingly, I was like, oh, signed balls, bats on the wall. I went nuts in that room. Went nuts, right? All right. So looking for common interests. And then the next thing I said is always add value before asking for something in return. That's a relationship. Always add value to somebody's life before asking for something in return. And that's a pretty simple one. You can stay with that. All right. Number 5 was empathy. Number 5 being empathy, I wrote down the following things. Take a genuine interest in other people. Like genuine, you know, we live in a social media world, right? And you go on social media and you just, you know, scroll past a bunch of people's stuff. Maybe you double tap, get some likes on Instagram, you know, give some love. But the real love comes in when you show a genuine interest in what that person is doing or what they're doing. And that in social media, that means actually making a comment that requests a question or an answer in return, right? So if you see somebody and I don't know, man, they just bought a new car. Let's say it's a Ferrari, right? Like I saw somebody the other day take a picture in front of a Lambo and I was like, yo, did you buy that? Because I'm in love with your car right now, right? And they're like, no, I didn't buy it. This is like, I took this picture from my dream board. I want to post it on social media so I can say it to the world. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. Let's talk about that. Right. So we started digging in on vision, mission, and dreams, and that was a freaking great conversation. But we oftentimes just surpass a bunch of people and we never take a genuine interest in what somebody else is doing. Empathy also comes in when you're actually talking to someone face to face and they tell you something about themselves and then you just move on to the next subject. That's not empathy. When they talk to you about something that they genuinely have an interest in or genuinely are doing, and you have genuine interest in what that is, genuine interest in other people, changes the game, changes everything. Okay. Next thing I wrote down is look at things from their perspective, right? You've heard this before. I'm going to go back to genuine interest in other people. It's funny that this morning I'm flipping through social media and I run into, I don't know what post it was, but there was a picture of Rick Ross. Some of you know who Rick Ross is, some of you don't. It was a picture of Rick Ross, and there was a quote that Rick Ross said, and it said, rules for social media or something like that, right? And the quote said, if my homies are doing something big, I'm liking it. And the concept, so when I went into read the comment that was left for it, it was that he was basically saying in the interview that if his people are out there doing something, building a business, he didn't care what it was, he was liking that business, he was promoting that business, he cared about them, he wanted them to win, right? That's us, that's what we should be doing, All right, look at things from their perspective, right? Take off your shoes for a minute, slip into their shoes and understand the way that they're viewing the world. That's empathy. Acknowledge their feelings, right? Dude, and don't be cold about it, right? Okay. Like, somebody's like, man, it's really going to kill me to sell this house. And we've been here for 30 years. Don't look at them and go, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You'll get over it in a couple of days, right? You'll get over it when that big fat check hits your bank account. No, man, acknowledge their feelings. Man, I can totally understand that. I've never actually lived anywhere for 30 years. Like, you know what I mean? I haven't. All right. Never judge and always be supportive. We can't judge other people's character, right? That's number one. I read this a long time ago and I've said it probably a trillion times since I read it. And it was never compare your insides to other people's outsides. Right? So it's like what you're going through in your world, only you can know. And what somebody else is showing you is not necessarily what they're going through in their world. So don't compare your inside to other people's outsides. That leads to never judging people and always being supportive in their needs, right? And then be generous with your time and attention. So this was, I'm like I said, I'm always 100% honest with you guys. This was so hard for me for a very long time, right? Because my time is like, for me, it's like, bam, 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 bam. And being able to take a moment and be generous with my time and attention with somebody, it's so critical. And I had to learn that. I'll give you an example on why it's so important. I just launched this week the Freedom Achiever Academy. It's an online academy, 300 plus videos, all that good stuff, right? And we developed the website, freedomachieveracademy.com. And now we started ads on Saturday. And we're going to start selling this to the 2 million agents that are in the country, right? And so in the launch of this, I show it to a buddy of mine who is a mortgage loan officer, super smart guy, super great guy. And he says to me, he goes, Dave, come by my house on Saturday. The weekdays are crazy. He goes, come by my house on Saturday and let's bounce around it and like go in on things for like a few hours, man. I'll order food. It'll be fun. That's him being generous with his time and attention to what I have spent the last almost year of my life building and developing, right? And so with that being said, do you know how honored I feel that he would be willing to give me a few hours of his Saturday where he could be spending with his wife, his kids, he could go out, he could be at the beach, he could be doing a million other things and sitting with me with my academy on his screen looking at it and digging in on it, right? So be generous with time and attention. All right, number 6, positive attitude. So the things I wrote down with positive attitude, because listen, positive attitude, some people have it naturally, some people have to create it. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean they're being fake. It means that they don't want to be negative, so they got to create positivity. Some people just wake up mad, right? And listen, I got a lot of veteran friends. Like I said, I was in the Marine Corps for 9 years, so I got a lot of veteran friends. Most veterans just wake up mad. They got PTSD, they got other issues, their knees hurt, their back hurts, they can't sleep, they got sleep apnea, was sleeping with a freaking mask on and a hose attached to a machine. And listen, that's real life for a veteran. So if you haven't slept all night, your knees hurt, your feet hurt, your back hurts, your head hurts, your neck hurts, your hands hurt, and you had a mask on your face the whole night to make sure you actually take breaths while you're sleeping, you ain't waking up like, ta-da, ta-da, I'm ready, These folks got to find it within themselves to have a positive attitude and continue to grow. And so the things that I wrote there were never gossip. I think gossip is bullshit. I hate when people talk about people. It's ridiculous. Don't talk about people, talk about things. Talk about education, talk about business. Don't talk about people, right? Never complain. That's a hard one because when we go through shit, we want to vent. Never complain. Now, I'm not saying don't vent to your partner and, have private conversation, but don't make it everybody's business, right? Like when I get on Facebook and somebody goes off on a super negative rant, I'm like, pass it. I don't even want to read it, right? Criticize sparingly. We're all going to have an opportunity to critique. Some people will actually ask us for critique. Like I'm asking this guy on Saturday for critique, right? But sparingly, be careful who you criticize and how you criticize. And always speak well of others. I don't care how you feel to that person, right? If you can't say a lot, just say, yeah, good guy. That's enough. There's nothing else that needs to be said, right? All right. Last three things, and then I'll let you guys go. And then I want to get some feedback from you guys on where you felt like most impacted today. But number 7, teamwork, man. I've built and developed teams. I coach people into building and developing teams. Avoid claiming all the credit. When you are a team member or a team leader, avoid claiming all the credit. It is not your credit. It was done because there was a team. I say this to my team all the time. Kathy knows, without you, there is no team. There is no team, okay? Celebrate other people's wins, right? So something new I've been doing in my team meetings, which is totally my wife, it's not me, so I'm gonna be honest about that because I can't take all the credit, right? What are your biggest wins? And we talk about that with our team. 30 seconds, man, give me your biggest wins of the week, right? So celebrate people's wins because they deserve it. They put in the work to get those wins, right? Praise teammates publicly and praise them generously, right? So a pat on the back privately is nice, but when you stand on a stage, whether it be social media or an event or whatever, and you give your team public love and praise, and you do it often, it changes the dynamic of the team. All right, number 8, emotional intelligence. Here's what I wrote down to that. Never act impulsively. Take a step back when you're upset. Understand what you're feeling. Understand the consequences of your actions. Then proceed accordingly. It was almost like a plan, right? Emotional intelligence. I wrote this down almost like a plan. Like, oh shit, something went down. Don't act impulsively. Take a step back. Let me take a deep breath. I'm upset right now. Let me take a deep breath and understand this better. So understand what I'm feeling. Why am I feeling this way? Understand the consequences of my actions. If I act impulsively, what would be the consequences of my actions? Right? And then proceed accordingly. Once you've been able to process this, you can proceed accordingly and hopefully come out the other end unscathed. Right? Now, this is, there's so many situations we can talk about. I'll talk about the funny ones, like our spouses, right? Or significant others, right? Maybe my wife says something to me and I go, wait, let me think about this for a minute. Because happy wife, happy life. I'm going to choose my words wisely because I like my bed. I don't like the couch. Let me think about this, right? But let's think about clients real quick. Sometimes clients call you in frustration and they're going off on the phone. They're just going off and they're frustrated and they're angry and they're upset. And most of the time, as real estate agents, we forget that they're actually in the middle, in the process of buying the most expensive thing they will ever own. They're nervous, they're scared. Let them vent, let them go. Don't act impulsively and try to interrupt them and, no, but I did this, but I did that. Nobody gives a shit. Let them vent, let them go through it, let them get to the point where they're just, oh, I'm tired of talking. Take a step back. You're going to be upset. It's natural. We're human. Okay. Understand why you're feeling that way. And more importantly, understand why they're feeling that way. Get in their shoes. Understand the consequences of your action if you start yelling back or getting interrupted or this and that. Maybe you lose the deal. Right? Then proceed accordingly. Most of the time, the opportunity is to allow them the opportunity to vent, hear what they have to say, maybe make notes while they're saying it, and then say, hey, if it's okay, I'd really like to address some of your concerns and hopefully put you at ease. Changes everything because your tone is going to direct their tone moving forward. So let them go. What's the big deal? Right? We used to say sticks and stones will hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. But then somebody gets on the phone and starts yelling at you and you all hurt. Stop it. Right? Last and finally, and we're 45 minutes in, so I want to be respectful to your time. But last and most importantly, work ethic. So the things that I wrote under work ethic, because here's the crazy part, right? Somebody will have a 9 to 5 and they will work that 9 to 5 respectively, accordingly, and do what they're supposed to do between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And they will help that business owner continue to succeed and win every day. Then they decide they want to become a real estate agent. They quit their 9 to 5 and they go become full-time real estate agents. And then what do? They put in 10, 15-hour weeks. So hold on a second. You're putting in 40 hours a week for somebody else, but you won't put in 40 hours a week for yourself? 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week? How much do you love yourself? Come on now. This is work. This is a stressful business, by the way. If you're a real estate agent or mortgage loan officer, this shit is stressful. Okay? Take responsibility for your work is one of the first things that I wrote down. You did the work. If it wasn't done well, take responsibility. If it was done well, take responsibility. Always show up and deliver on time. Dude, when somebody books an appointment with me and they don't show up, that burns me more than anything in the world. Right? Always show up and deliver on time. Now, I am in Miami. I'm Puerto Rican. My wife's Dominican. I try my best not to be late everywhere, but we happen to be late everywhere. But that's a joke. We'll talk about that somewhere else. It's not though. If you invite me somewhere at 8 o'clock, I'll be there at 8:30, guys, because gotta wait on wifey. All right. But always show up and deliver on time. Always keep your commitments. If you're committed to something, if you said to somebody that you were going to do something, keep your commitments. Keep your commitments strong. Do the right thing by people. And finally, the last thing I wrote down, never deflect blame onto others. So what happens? A lot of people, they say, oh, this was done wrong. And the first thing they say, oh, so-and-so didn't get it right. I'll talk to them. No, shit ain't about that. Here's a perfect example. Last night I went under contract. The agent wrote me and she said, hey, congratulations, we're under contract. Can you please reply to this email and let me know that it's accepted and we're good to go. We're moving forward. I didn't email her. I sent that package to my transaction coordinator, my assistant, my transaction coordinator, my buyer's agent, the title company. Everybody got that information, right? And typically my transaction coordinator is very quick. She sends a message out to them right away. However, it was yesterday, late in the day. So she sent the message early this morning. But before this person knew that, they had called me and they said, hey, Dave, I sent you an email yesterday and I didn't get a response from you. Are we good? And I said to them, I'm sorry, you should have received the message from Michelle. However, it was late last night, so This is my fault. I should have just quickly responded to you. Here's what I'm going to do. Give me 1 second. I'm going to respond to your email right now while we're on the phone so that you have email proof that, yes, I did receive it and we are moving forward. As a matter of fact, inspection's at 1 p.m. today. She said, oh, thank you so much, right? I took the hit. I could have easily sent that email yesterday, but because my machine was, hey, this is how we do things, I didn't send the email. But it was late yesterday, and I can't expect Michelle to be up all night waiting for me to be under contract, right? So I had this, I should have sent that yesterday and explained to her that in the morning, Michelle would get all these introductory emails out. That was me. So I didn't deflect the blame. I didn't say, oh, what? My team didn't send you the email? Good God, I'll talk to them later today. Right? I didn't do that. I took the blame. And I will continue to take the blame for anything that happens in my business. All right. All right, guys, it's 11:49. We got like 10 minutes left. I'd love to open up the floor to anyone who would like to pitch something in, something they picked up today, an example of how that worked for them in the past, an example of how it didn't work for them in the past. Love to hear from you guys. If anybody wants to volunteer and chip in and enjoy it. This is when it gets real quiet.
I'll chip in with some lessons learned.
Hey, Tony.
How's it going, David?
Mister, how are you?
I'm very well. So what I picked up was basically be a professional, be compassionate, treat people how they need to be treated, not how you think they should be treated.
Yes.
And make sure that your actions are a reflection of the brand that you want to put out to the world.
Oh man, that's huge. I love that last one, Tony. Thank you for sharing that, man. That last one hits home for me because we're in the business of marketing and sales and relationships and et cetera, right? We're not really in real estate. We wear the hat for all the departments, and we're all trying to build a brand for ourselves, right? And when other people respect that brand because you've expressed exactly how you want that brand to be respected, then people love it and they promote it. And look, I'm wearing somebody else's brand right now because I respect this guy. This guy's a G. He's amazing. He's the #1 marketer in the world. His name's Billy Genius Marketing. Check him out. Genius, like the shirt says. And I'm wearing this brand. I got no problem wearing it publicly or anything like that. When people ask me, oh, what is that? Genius is spelled wrong. I go, it's actually his name. And then he put genius, right? And I explain to them who this person is. This guy is getting free marketing from me because he's built a brand that's respectable, that's well done. He's portrayed it accurately. I appreciate his information. I took a course with him. I appreciated the information. As a matter of fact, I watched that daggone course twice already. Right? It's just, I'm in. Anybody else want to participate? We'll take 1 or 2 more and then we'll kill it for the day. Anybody? Come on, I got to pick on my team.
Hey, David.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, I'm up here in Tampa, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned Mickey Mantle. I don't know if you could see my camera, but you fired me up because I'm going to start bringing this on some listing appointments to tell a story.
Listen, you never know, man. You never know.
So that got me going when you said that. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's funny because, my father has a great Mickey Mantle story.
I bet he does.
Yeah, and they were on a small jet together, and Mickey Mantle fell asleep, and he put his head on my dad's shoulder, and he passed out on my dad's shoulder. And so my dad, being the huge Yankee fan that he is, he was just rock solid still for 4 hours. He didn't move.
Oh my gosh.
And then Mickey Mantle wakes up and he's like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean, and my dad's like, what are you kidding me, brother? You can sleep on my shoulder anytime you want,
Right.
And so Mickey reached into his backpack, pulled out a hat, signed it, gave it to my dad. So
wow.
Yeah. Super.
What a story.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to participate? Kathy, what'd you get? Come on, Kathy, bring it in, man. Represent the Kurz team.
Hi, everyone. Basically, I mean, obviously staying professional, being dedicated, respectful, having empathy. I think that's super important. I think we don't get a lot of that in today's world. So that's definitely a very good point that you talked about. Having the work ethic, that one, like, it's funny because I dedicated myself full time only about 3 weeks ago. And I'm freaking out, right? I'm going through that freaking out stage. And that stage is like up and down and up and down. And you're going like, oh my God, what did I just do? Because when you get used to, even though I was a consultant, I had a steady business. So I was getting a paycheck,
Right.
Week to week. So it's the work ethic is still there for me. I have no problem putting in the time, but I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's something really that now I tell myself, this is really, really full time for me. And even though right now it seems really difficult and you don't know what the end is going to be or how long it's going to take for you to get that deal, I feel confident that it's going to happen. And whenever it does, I'm ready. So.
That's awesome, Kathy. Well, first of all, I know the story, but public applause to you for coming into the business full time 3 weeks ago. That's amazing. And listen, I got news for you. It's going to be a roller coaster for the rest of your real estate career. But the more you're in it, the more work you put into it, the roller coaster becomes a little crazier. But in the back of the roller coaster, there's all this money flowing into your bank account, which is nice. Right. And so that's just, it is what it is, but that's business ownership. You could have stopped doing this to go open a bicycle shop. It would have been the same roller coaster. Right. So we're in it. Let's do it. And, not everybody needs a bicycle, but you know what everybody wants or needs? A house. And we happen to sell that commodity, All right, guys, anybody else before we shut down? All right, so something, I'll finish it off and then we'll take off for the day. Most important thing I heard today was treat people the way that they should be treated and not the way that you imagine them to be treated. I think it was something along those lines, Tony. I love that statement because we live in a world right now where people have opinions and you don't like their opinion, so you don't like them. And I think that's a bullshit world to live in. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion. Doesn't mean y'all can't get along, right? I always have a rule with people. You have an opinion that I don't agree with, don't try to push it on me. Have your opinion, I'll give you mine, we move on. That's it. It's very simple. And if we could live in a world where people respected each other's opinions, doesn't mean you got to agree with it. It just means you got to respect that they have an opinion. It is how they feel. People's opinions come from the experiences that they have developed in their lives. You can't ever imagine what it is to be living in someone else's life. You only know yours. So I'll leave you guys with that, man. Make it a better world out there. Hopefully some of this great stuff is impacting your business. And I applaud for you guys for taking the time to spend with me, and I appreciate you guys always. All right, have a great week. See you guys next week, 11 a.m. We're always here, guys.